this is what certain districts in Rajasthan such as Churu, Bikaner looked like when a dust storm struck them. And you won't be surprised if you see something exactly like this happening in North India very soon as well. Because what protected North India has been fading out, has been weakening, and it is because of us humans. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi /news. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are going to talk about these very dust storms which are common in Rajasthan, particularly the Thar Desert and the areas around it, but North India remained protected from such dust storms because of the Aravallis. But because Aravallis are weakening, and it is because mainly of anthropogenic reasons, that means us humans, this is something that might also happen in North India. So let us begin with understanding that why are we talking about this today, and then we will move to talk about dust storms, what leads to their origin, and then also that how Aravallis are weakening and what is the consequence of it. So beginning with, this conversation started with when a major dust storm erupted in Rajasthan, and this is what created a near zero visibility scene not just in Churu but other districts of Rajasthan as well, such as Bikaner, Hanumangarh, Alwar, Sikar, etc. Now when we are talking about dust storm specifically, let us start with understanding that what leads to its origin in this certain area of India. Now when we are talking about Rajasthan, particularly I am talking about Thar Desert here, we see frequent dust storms, and that is why the area in and around it is affected mostly by it. Now when we are talking about dust storms, we need to understand that how they are formed in this particular area. So first, it is because of the extreme heat which dries the land surface. We are talking about Thar Desert, temperatures are high, and we know that especially this summer how harsh the temperatures have been. Now this extreme heat leads to dry land surface, then add with it strong westerly winds which develop over this region during this very time. Now all the sand and dust particles which are present here, they are lifted because of these winds, and when they are lifted from the Thar Desert, this wind is responsible for their transportation, and this leads to their spread across large parts of North India. But when we are talking about large parts of North India, this is exactly where Aravallis used to come to our rescue. Because when we are talking about Rajasthan, it does has arid climate, sparse vegetation, loose sandy soils, high summer temperatures, and the pre-monsoon wind activity which is seen, which is quite frequent. Now all of this leads to perfect conditions for generation of dust storms. Now dust storm originates in the Thar Desert itself, and I am saying that this can spread across North India, but what stops it is Aravallis. Now before we move to this factor, we also need to understand when we are talking about Aravallis being specifically present there, what exactly happens here is that Aravallis which are present between Indo-Gangetic Plains on this side and Thar Desert on this side, this acts as a barrier. So when it acts as a barrier, it slows down the winds which are dust laden, and they are not able to move eastward. So all the sand particles, they are able to settle on the western slope itself. If this is Aravallis, this is the western slope, this is the eastern slope. This acts as a barrier, winds are not able to cross over, and the dust has to settle here. And as to understand if this happens as a phenomena or not, there are evidences. For example, sand dunes which are made on the western slope, they are present. Vegetation trap dust. Furthermore, vegetation which is present along the Aravallis, that also traps dust and reduces wind velocity. And when we are talking about Aravallis, this also acts as a natural ecological barrier, not just for dust storms, for the desert expansion also. So if the desert and the characteristics which lead to the origination of dust storm are not able to expand beyond this point, that also controls it. So any region across the Aravallis, including our capital Delhi, then states like Haryana, Punjab and also a major portion of Uttar Pradesh, they are benefited, hugely benefited in other means also, but in terms of protection of dust storm, non-expansion of desert as well. Now the problem is that when Aravallis were performing a highly important ecological role here, then what went wrong? Why are we worried that dust storms will come to North India? We are worried because Aravallis are dying. Aravallis are fading out. Now, how do we know this? We have multiple reasons to believe clearly. Anthropogenic activities such as illegal mining, when we are talking about quarrying, deforestation, urban expansion, infrastructure projects and encroachment have led to degradation in Aravallis. And if you are not able to believe, this is not the first time that we are talking about. Forest Survey of India back in 2018 already has mentioned that 31 Aravalli hills, they have just disappeared in Rajasthan. We are looking at multiple ecological gaps that have already emerged amongst this mountain chain, and apart from that there are clear reports that when we are talking about Aravallis, 3.5% of hills to be taken up by mining by 2060. So in this situation we can clearly see that how threatened this mountain, one of the oldest mountain chains in the world, not in India, in the world, are threatened, and as a consequence a lot of things, not just loss of wildlife, loss of biodiversity, multiple ecological consequences, and this will also emerge. Apart from that, if you remember 2025, in the end of it, we talked in detail about how Supreme Court verdict led to a lot of conversation around Aravallis, that how Aravallis are threatened, and one definition, one tweak in definition for development can threaten. So this is where we really need to think that how much economic development will come in the name of ecological degradation, and at this point of time it is not just degradation, it has become devastation. So in this context we have understood, I hope we are clear that how Aravalli hills are threatened, how they are dying, how they are fading, how they are non-existent, that the hills have disappeared. If the hills have disappeared, then the barrier is not present anymore. So desert will also expand with due time, and dust storms will also enter through that very non-existent barrier. Now I hope we have made everything clearer. This is where we move to understand that what are the real consequences. Basic, we have understood that dust storms will come, but that's not the only consequence we need to think about. We need to think about that how this dust storm will lead to increased dust transport, how this will lead to greater risk of desertification, how this will lead to higher temperatures, how this will lead to loss of vegetation, and also the habitat quality. Delhi, which is already severed out, battered because of highest pollution levels that are seen not just in India but across the globe, which yesterday itself saw the settling of AQI to a number breathable air, which was last seen in October 18 of 2025. Now add more dust to it and imagine what will happen to AQI in North India. So this will add more layers of problem in terms of environmental impacts. It will also add problems in terms of broader climate impacts, because this is going to change the rainfall distribution. This is going to alter the sunlight, because dust is going to cause reflection. So the sunlight that comes to the earth's surface, that will change, and this will lead to variation in local temperatures. Local temperatures will change for year, 2, 3, and gradually it will lead to broader, bigger, long impacting climate changes as well. And if you are not worried about ecological or climate impacts, you should think about what all it can do to you, to your family, to your loved ones. Respiratory illness, eye infections, reduced visibility, increased particulate pollution leading to health issues, dip in productivity, more expenditure, and so much more. So this is where it is all. So this is where we clearly get to see as a case study that if we will not care for environment, if we will not care for natural things, it is going to come back to us. And this is a prime example in front of us. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. Let us also very quickly discuss what should be the way forward in this situation. Way forward, the prime thing that we need to consider here needs to come in terms of immediate action. So, immediate action we need to take strict, not just on paper, but in terms of implementation as well, in terms of illegal mining. The hill ecosystems which have already been degraded, the focus needs to be on their restoration. And large scale afforestation so as to ensure that if not complete but partial restoration, partial recovery can happen, the native species can flourish, and focus should be on protection of these ecological corridors. Furthermore, it is also very important to focus on research so as to ensure that what dust movement is suggesting, how the land degradation is fastening over the years. This is where drones, GIS and other neo technology can be also brought in. But in the longer term, the whole idea should be to ensure that we strengthen Aravalli Range back as the natural climate and environmental shield as it has always existed for our country. Now, on this note, I'll be leaving you here with a prelims practice question. Let me know the answer to this in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.